Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to today's live session. We have got GCSE Maths today. I hope you're all well. We are going to look at completing the square. This is a higher tier topic. We will be looking at how completing the square works. I will show you some examples to begin with, and we'll work our way through some questions together. Please let me know if you have any questions as we go along using the chat. I'll be checking the chat and answering any. Let me move on to my notepad. Right, you can see what I want to cover today. We'll firstly see what completing the square is, how that it works. Then we'll see how to find turning points of curves using completing the square. And then we are going to look at solving quadratic equations. So firstly, to recap translations, because that's we need that in order to find turning points. I want to look at how translations work. So can anyone tell me, if you have done this before, how translations work? If you have f of x plus a, say you have a curve y equals x squared, and then you add a constant to this. What effect does this have to in terms of moving the curve along? And also tell me what effect it would have if I add or subtract something to the to inside the bracket to x itself. So the first one you would remember from doing translations is that if you are adding something to all of the y values, all your function, then it is going to be a translation along the y-axis. So this is going to be units along the y-axis. The idea here is, if instead of y equals x squared, for example, you have 2, and then this value will be 4, that's 2 squared. Instead of that, if you add 5 here, instead of getting 4, you'll get a 9. It will be 4 plus 9. So the idea is everything will go up by 5 units. So this will be y equals x squared plus 5. So that's how translations work. If you're adding a constant to the whole thing, it moves up by how much you're adding, or you could be subtracting it. You could make it move down as well. That's the first one. What about the second one? If you are taking away or adding to just x, in that case, it's a bit different. Instead of being along the y-axis, let me label these as well. So instead of being along the y-axis, the translation is along the x-axis. So if you have f of x minus a, so that's gonna be moving a units along the x-axis. So the example here, we can have if you have, let me clear this up. Suppose we have got y equals x minus 3 squared, then that's going to move to the right, and you have got that this point being 3. You have moved 3 units to the right. What about this one? Okay, if someone can someone tell me what the equation of this one will be? You can see that we have moved, starting from the origin, we have moved 4 units to the right along the x-axis, and we have gone 3 units up along the y-axis. Let me know if you can find out the equation of that one while I take these away. Right, so we said that we have got 4 units to the right, 3 units up. So this should be y equals x minus 4 all squared plus 3. So this is a translation. We have moved it 4 units to the right and 3 units upwards. So this will be useful in a sec when we have when we want to find minimum and maximum points or turning points of a quadratic. Okay, let's move on to how to actually complete the square and what completing the square is. We have, suppose we start with this and we have y equals x plus 2 squared plus 3. So this is, I'm not completing the square now, but I'm just starting with an expression which is in the completed square form. But suppose we expand this. What are we going to get? If you want to simplify this, you first start with the bracket, and this is x plus 2 times x plus 2. You need to add 3, and this is going to be x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4, and we have our 3. So simplifying these, you will get x squared plus 4x plus 7. So completing this square is doing this backwards. What you want to do is start with this expression and then change it into x plus 2 all squared plus 3. So this is what's called completing the square. So we are writing it in a form that has a squared bracket plus or minus something else. So this is the idea, and in terms of we'll do an example of how to do it, and you will see that it's useful for the two cases that they are the ones that you need to know: solving quadratic equations and finding turning points of curves. So if you look through how I did the expansion, you might notice a few things. You might see that to expand the bracket, I started with, let's highlight some of these. This, while I was expanding, I had x plus 2, and if you compare this to this expression, you can see that to find the first one, my first term is x squared, so I have squared this term that's there, and then to find 4x, the key point to remember here is that to find 4x, let me get my purple. To find 4x, you are going to always double the second term in the square. So that's the first point to remember. And then to get 4, 4 is the square of the 2 because you're multiplying the two of them. So if you want to go back, let's say we started with y is x plus 2 squared. Sorry, suppose we started, that's where we're going to go to. Suppose we started with this expression, 4x plus 7. This is where we start, and we want to write it in this form. So the first thing you will do is, you know that it has to be a bracket and squared. So the first thing you will do is you would write that square, prepare that bracket, and then we know that the first term is going to be an x. So this one is always going to be the root of the first term here. So you'll always want to have an x squared at the beginning, and then inside the bracket is just an x. So that's your first rule. So I'll make a note of. I'll write these as steps. So the first thing is writing x squared goes into the bracket as an x. So that's always the first one. Then the second term you need to consider is this one. So you need to look at what's in front of x. We have got a 4 here. The rule is dividing that by 2. So divide coefficient of x by 2 and put into brackets. So this is the second step in our recipe of completing the square. 4 divided by 2 is a 2, so we write x plus 2. That's always going to be the case. Oops, let me get my highlighter. That doesn't change. It's always whatever is in front of x divided by 2. So you can see we have got x plus 2 squared, and this is looking like what we had before. So where does the 3 come from? So the next thing you need to do is take away the square of this term. What's the square of that? That's 2 squared. I'll just write it as 2 squared, but I mean, you know that it's a 4. So you take away the square of the second term. My handwriting is not really nice today, is it? These are always the 3 steps. You don't really have anything else, any other way of doing it. So these are the 3 steps you need to apply always. So let's see if we have this expression. Is it there? Have we got there yet? Are these the same? So what we have done is, if you look at this one, I have basically taken care of the x squared term and the 4x term, but I haven't really done anything to the plus 7, because what I'm saying is this term squared will become the purple one that's outside there. This one, the green one, gives me the 4x. That's okay. And the square of the green one, I'm taking that away. What I need to do is still add 7, because the 7 was just waiting there. I hadn't done anything with the 7. So the 7 you need to add at the end. So these are the rules. These are the steps. And if you follow these then completing the square will always work. So let me write the last one, add the constant term. So let me know how you're finding this. If you have, I don't know how many of you have seen this before, whether you have done this before, or is this new to you? And let me know if you have, if anything is not clear. We will look at some examples. They are the first ones are easier. It's just completing the square, and then we'll see how it applies to finding turning points and solving equations. Let's continue here. So this one is saying for all values of x, you're given this expression that x squared plus 6x minus 2 equals x plus p squared plus q. That's the standard form of a completed square. So you know what you need to do is what we have just seen in the example. Find the values of P and Q. So what should I do? Here? Well, I will apply my steps. So I'm going to say that x squared plus 6x minus 2 is equal to. So I put my bracket in there. The first term is an x. Hi, Genius. Welcome. Nice to see you. You have an exam on completing the square. That's great. I hope you find this useful. These questions, yes, are exam style questions. They start easier, and you'll see how we have more application questions which are gonna come later. What should you concentrate on? I would suggest if you need to be comfortable with doing the completing square. So make sure you can do the first two questions that we are going to see, and then you can look into applying this into more in context questions. All right, let's continue with this. So what would be the second term there? This x is coming from there, and then you need to remember, look at the coefficient of x. So that's going to be plus 3, which is half of 6. Yep, p is 3. Well done. And then you need to take away 3 squared, and then remember to take away the 2 as well, minus 2. So this is going to be x plus 3 squared minus 9 minus 2, which is minus 11. Isabella, thank you. I think that is correct. Well done. Yep, thank you, genius. We have got minus 9 minus 2. P is 3 and Q is minus 11. Well done to those of you who got the answer. Let's look at the next one. By the way, these questions are in the description of the video. You can find them there. If you want to look at all of them, move at your own speed. I have put quite a lot of questions there. We are not going to do all of them. So look at this. Let me know if you get the second one, what your answers are. So yeah, you can find the questions in the description, and you can try them later as well. So question 2, what answers have you got? We have got x squared plus 10x plus 3. It is the same question. Like you say, it's a very similar question. You just need to complete the square. So I will say this is gonna be equal to, I open my bracket. First term is an x coming from this. Then I'm gonna put a plus 5. Why 5? It is because I have a 10 in front of x, and then 5 is the half of 10. I always divide it by 2. Then remember to take away 5 squared and then add the 3. So the 3 is that one, and then the 5 squared is taking away 5 squared is always the square of the second term there. Let's see what we have in the answers. Isabella, A is 5. I agree, thank you. And then 25 minus 25 plus 3 is minus 22. Well done. That's great. Let me write these down. And then if you're done with this, look at the next question. So we have got, let me simplify that, x plus 5 squared minus 22. Nafizul is asking how we could revise the whole syllabus before an exam. Ashraf, good to see you again. A is 5, B is minus 22. Thank you, well done, that's correct. How to revise effectively before an exam? Well, I think especially with maths, practicing is really, really important. So I always suggest you need to begin with, you need to know your topic. So you need to know, say we're doing completing the square now, you need to know how to do things. We have seen at the beginning, I gave you a list of three points. It's like a recipe. Um, you need to know how to follow them, because if you don't know that, then you can't really, no matter how much you practice, if you don't know how to do the questions, it's not going to work. So you need to make sure you know how to do the methods, but once that's there, it's all about practice. So I suggest solving questions and putting them into practice. Genius, my name is Görkem. What's your name? I mean, maybe it's genius, but I wonder what your name is. Let me know. Let's see what the next question is. Has anyone done the next question? Let's move on to the next one. This is another quick one. I will write down the answer here. X squared minus 4x minus 10. I start with my bracket. X goes in there. Then we have got minus 4, so that needs to be a minus 2. Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. I take away 2 squared, and then I take away 10. So this is going to be x minus 2. That looks like a z. We don't want that. So we have got minus 4 minus 10, which is minus 14. Right, that was a very similar question as well. Let's see what that leads on to. Let me know if you agree. Yep, A is minus 4, B is minus 14. Correct. Thank you. Or actually, no, wait. A is A minus 4. That's, remember, A is half of the coefficient, that one. So, yeah, A needs to be minus 2 and B is minus 14. Okay, let's see how this relates to the minimum value. So hence write down the minimum value of this curve. So let me know if you have what the minimum value is, if you have seen this before. Let me check this. So we have, when we were doing the recap, if we go back to that section, we said that for a translation, if you have say this curve, if you add something or take away something from x, it affects the x-axis. It's a movement to right or left. And then if you add to the whole function, it's along the y-axis going up or down. So let's apply this to the question we have now. By completing the square, we said that this function y is x squared minus 4x minus 10 is the same as x minus 2 squared minus 14. So it's just a nicer way of writing the function. Resources link don't work. Let me check that. Sorry about that. Why is it not working? Click. Okay, I'm putting it in the chat here. Let's see. Let me know if that works for you. Yeah. Okay, let me know if that's working for you. Right, so we wrote this in a nicer form. Instead of this quadratic, it's in a better form that we can see that it's being translated. So the first thing to realize is it is this is a quadratic. So a quadratic always looks, let's start with y equals x squared and translate it, because a quadratic looks like this. Actually, I'll draw it and then move the axis around it. Link worked. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, it worked for me. Maybe I don't know what the, like, try the one in the chat. Not sure what's the issue, but let me know if it doesn't work later. I'm sure we can sort that. Say we start with this. Then I need to move this. Yeah. So this is y equals x squared. But we want to translate this. So can someone tell me what translation this is? What does this 14 or minus 14 do? And what does this minus 2 do to my quadratic graph? Let's move this down a bit. So from translations, you should know that this one is a move to the right by 2 units. And the 14 is, or minus 14 is move down by 14 units. So what does that mean? That means if I'll make this a bit smaller. There. So we need to move this. When we start with y equals x squared, we need to move this 2 units to the right and 14 units down. Right, thank you, Isabella. What's the final point then? What's the minimum value? I will just make this a bit longer. We need a long axis. Okay. So 14 unit going along the y-axis in the negative direction. You are going to go, say this is 2, and then this is minus 14. This is what we are gonna get at the end. So you can see that this coordinate is gonna be 2 and minus 14. Let me know if you agree with this or if you have a different answer. Mohammed, you are doing IGCSE. Are you with Edexcel or CIE? Let me check. Yep, I think it is in there. Yes, you need to be able to know for IGCSE, you need to know completing the square as well, and you need to solve quadratics like by completing the square. That's one of the methods expected to be used. Right, let me know if you agree with this, and I'll just put the answer in there, then move to the next question. Okay. The question number 4, it starts similarly, then we need to find the minimum as well. So if anyone has done that, let me know what you get. CIE, you're doing CIE. I can check that. I don't know on top of my head whether you need to know that for CIE. So let's start with A and B. Has anyone got A and B? I will write x squared minus 8x plus 21 is equal to squared. So I put the x because I have an x squared term. Then I will put minus 4 because of the minus 8. I will take away 4 squared. because that's my second term squared. And I will add the 21. The 21 is this one. And let me show that this is the square of that one. You can see it's always the same steps. If you remember these 3 steps, you will always get the correct answer. So you have, Isabella, A as 4, that is correct. And then B, let's see what B is, because we have got minus 4 squared. That's a minus 16. So minus 16 plus 21 is going to be 5. Thanks for the answer. Yep, we agree. Mohammed agrees. So we have our A and B. What about the next part? Is I'm just checking this is the same as what we did at the first part. So in most of the cases, almost all of the time, the second part follows on from the first part, so you get it's exactly the same. I don't expect it to be a different curve, but I'm just checking that this one is exactly the same as that one. So if that's the case, you can write that f of x is the same as x minus 4 minus 5. Can someone tell me what the minimum point is now? Because you should think of it as a translation. Is it going to the right, left, up, down, wherever it's going? You can find the minimum point. So this one, I'm going to write the translations. This is 4 units to the right. So if it's inside the bracket, oh, hang on, it is plus 5, not minus 5? Did I copy that wrong? Yes, thank you both of you for noticing that. Yep, because we have got plus 21 minus 16, this is plus 5. Yep, so that's plus, and following on from that, this is gonna be 5 units up. So overall, the point is 4, 5. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that's our next question. And let's look at the next one, which is question 6. Okay, looking at question 6 now. I have skipped question 5. If you solve it, let me know what you get. I can tell you whether you have the correct one. But I want to move on to solving quadratic equations as well. Question 6a starts with the same one, the same completing the square. It introduces you to the next part of the question. So let's do that. Let me know what a and b values you have. If you get them, x squared plus 4x minus 12. I start with an x, square it, plus half of 4, which is a plus 2, minus 2 squared, and I take away the 12 there. Let me color code this. So the 2 is half of 4, and I have got the minus 12 being there. A is 2. Yep, thank you, Mohammed. That's a 4 being the square of that one. Okay, simplify this. Let me write it as x plus 2 squared. So we have got minus 4 minus 12. What b value does that give you? You should get minus 16. Okay. Let me know if you agree with this one. Then let's look at part B. Yep, we agree with B. So part B says hence or otherwise solve. So similar to hence or otherwise find the minimum point. In here we want to solve the equation. Again, it's a nicer way of writing the equation. Once we completed the square, we can, instead of this, we can write x plus 2 squared minus 16 is equal to 0. So how do we solve from this? What do you suggest I should do to solve this one? Let me check the 40, 20. So to solve an equation, the idea in general is finding x. So we're going to leave x on its own. So in quadratics, there are a few approaches. You could factorize, you could use a quadratic formula, but here we wanted to use the completed square form that we already have. It says hence or otherwise, but we already did some work, so why would we do it otherwise? It's better to use what we already did. So the idea is leaving x on its own, which means you can, just like any other equation that you solve. You would need to add 16 to both sides. Yep. Yes, let me know if you have already found it. I'm not writing it right away, writing the answer right away. So I would add 16 to both sides. So I'm going to write this every step by step. I mean, you probably, if you're working with completing the square, especially at higher level, higher tier, you would probably not be writing these separately. But just for the first example, I want to show how it works. So you say x plus 2 squared is 16. And then what is the next step? You want to get rid of the square. So this is to leave x on its own. Somehow we need to get rid of the square. Think of always the opposite or reverse operation. So to get rid of the 16 minus 16, we added 16. To remove the square, you would need to square root both sides. So square rooting x plus 2 squared is on the other side, you need plus minus square root of 16. This is very important. You need to remember that when you square root, you need to have both the plus and the minus signs. Yep, thank you. Square root both sides, that is correct. And we have got plus and minus because the idea is if you have got say you have, I'll put this at the side, say x squared is equal to 4, x is equal to plus minus 2. Both 2 squared and 4 minus 2 squared is a 4. So that's why whenever you have x squared is something and then you square root, you must remember to put plus and minus. So that's where it comes from. But I'll just remove that from there so it's not confusing. Right, square rooting a square is x plus 2. I think we have got some answers. You have, let's see what we have. X is 2. X is minus 6. Yep, looks like we have some correct answers. Well done. X is minus 6 and 2. Let's see how we get there. I have x plus 2 is equal to plus minus 4 because root 16 is a 4. Then x is minus 2 plus 4 or minus 2 minus 4. X is 2 or minus 6. So always remember, you must have two solutions. If you have this something in this form, you square root of two sides, you have got plus and minus, and you should remember to give them as x is 2 or minus 6. Give both of your answers. Okay, if you have any disagreements or questions, let me know in the chat. And otherwise, we're moving to this one. Let's first complete the square and then solve this. So you can see this question doesn't guide you. It doesn't say part A, complete the square, part B. It just says solve it by completing. It's combined the two parts of the questions that we have done before, but it's not really anything different. Okay, let's see how this works. We have got x squared plus 8x plus 13 is equal to 0. So by completing the square, we want to solve this. That means I will do what I always do, put my bracket in there, put my x, and then look at what's in front of x, the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is 8 plus 8 here, so divide that by 2. I need to put plus 4 there. Take away the square of that. And then what's the next term? That's a 13. So I just put that. I never change that 13 or whatever that term is. That's always the same. What is third form? That's a good question. Third form is when you have a square root of something, like root say 3 root 5 is a third form. Third is the square root roots that you have. So basically, you shouldn't find it in a decimal form or do something else. So this shows you that it's not going to be an exact square. You can get from the question that it's not going to be an exact square. Right, let's continue with this. We have got 0 on the other side. Yep, that is correct, Nafizul. Thank you for your answer. We have it as x plus 4 squared. So remember, we want to leave x on its own. So move everything to the other side, or add and subtract the opposites. So this is gonna be. Let me write it down. Let me not skip two steps at a time. So this is minus 16. This is plus 13. So we have a minus 3. That's equal to 0. So x plus 4 squared is equal to 3. What's the next step? Getting rid of the square root, which means taking the square of both sides. Sorry, I said it the other way. It's getting rid of the square, so taking the square root of both sides. Plus minus root 3. Remember, we have got plus and minus. X, therefore, is minus 4 plus root 3, or minus 4 minus root 3. Okay, that's again the two answers that we have. And you can see third form is when you keep root 3 as root 3. In terms of giving your answer, you could I wrote it as separately, but you could also keep it as x equals minus 4 plus minus root 3. So that's another way of writing it. You don't need to write them separately. I wrote them separately so you can see that you have actually two different answers. Okay, let's see if we agree with this one. Let me know. And we can look at the last one. So this is going back to finding the minimum. So there is this question. I'll give you some time to solve this one. Let me know what you get. And we also have time to do the one that we didn't do before, question 5. So I will start solving them. Let me know what you get. They are both in the, if you haven't opened it, the link is in the description. Solve both of them and let me know what you get. So I will start by solving this. So we have got y equals x squared plus 10x plus 3. So you can see that this question isn't split into two. It just says find the minimum point. So we are gonna complete the square. Squared, x goes there, plus half of the coefficient of x. So I take away 5 squared and then add my 3. X plus 5 squared. So we have got minus 25 plus 3 is minus 22. Therefore, minimum point is minus 5, 22, minus 22. So I know this because this is a plus 5. It's if in the bracket, if it's inside the bracket, it's always the opposite. And then, so this is 5 units to the left. And then the 22 is moving the whole thing down. So this is my minimum point for this one. Thank you, Isabella. Let me know the other one if you have done that. Question 5. What do you get for question 5? So let's see what this is going to be. We have got the bracket x minus 3. Minus 3 is half of minus 6 as before. We take away 3 squared and then add 10. So this is going to be x minus 3 squared. That's minus 9 plus 10. That's plus 1. So this is our form. Then write down the minimum value of this, which is y is x minus 3 squared plus 1. Isabella, 3 and 1, we agree with you. Thank you. Do we agree with you? Do you have minus 3 or 3? Yeah, it's minus 3. I couldn't see it in the chart. Then this means this is, remember, this is always the opposite of the sign. So this is 3 units to the right. And then this is 1 unit up. That means minimum point is 3 and 1. Right, that's the end of this question, and that's where I want to stop today. Thank you very much for joining today. I hope this was a useful session. The answers of the questions I've done will be in the description. The link will be updated, so if you wanna download my solutions or just have a copy of the questions, you can do that. It's gonna be in the description. And I'm continuing these sessions weekly. If you're new today, these are weekly sessions for Maths GCSE. We are gonna have another one next week. And let me see what the timetable is. So next week we're gonna do look at coordinate geometry, equation of a straight line. Thanks for joining. If you found this useful, please share with your friends, let them know, and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. I hope to see you again in next week.